Heartwarming story, lonely farmer buys 3 virgins, and what he revealed changed lives forever. Bill Thompson was a man of the land, rooted deep in the heart of Iowa. At 43, he had the kind of weathered hands and rough-hewn face that told stories. But since the day he'd lost Nancy, his beloved wife, that farmhouse of theirs had turned into a hollow shell, echoing the emptiness inside him. Each sunrise brought another morning of silence, the kind that settled like heavy dust on the furniture. He'd wake up alone, a tightness in his chest, yearning for warmth that wasn't there. No children, no laughter, just the wind rustling through the cornfields outside. One day, as Bill sorted through the pile of mail that seemed to grow heavier each week, a colorful flyer slipped from the stack. 3 young women seeking stable home, it exclaimed in bold letters, each word ablaze with promise. Their photos captured flickers of hope in their eyes, stories behind the smiles. It stirred something in Bill, a flicker of light breaking through the oppressive dark. Could it be? He could offer them a safe haven, share this land he loved with those who needed it, and so, his life took a bold turn. The women arrived, Anna, with her gentle smile and quiet strength, Tara, a firebrand filled with laughter, and Lucy, whose eyes held a heaviness he couldn't ignore. Each carried a past marked by struggle, yet they brought a spark of life that reignited something in Bill. He knew deep down that opening his life to them wasn't just an act of charity, it was his dream clawing its way back to reality. But just as Bill found some solace in their companionship, the stark gaze of the small town turned cold. Neighbors exchanged whispers over fences, farmers nudged their hats lower, refusing to look his way. The townsfolk were entrenched in a way of life that revolved around tradition and an unwavering grip on social norms. They couldn't fathom Bill's boldness in inviting outsiders into their world. He felt their eyes on him like a storm cloud brewing on the horizon, ready to unleash chaos. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. A violent storm rolled in one fateful evening. Dark clouds bruised the sky, and the wind howled like a banshee, rattling the old farmhouse's bones. Bill's heart raced, his instinct to protect the land surged within him. The women sprang into action, moving swiftly, a beautiful, frenzied dance of determination. Together they fought against the raging storm. They secured the barn doors, gathered the animals, huddled together against the fury of nature. Bill felt a surge of pride and admiration. Here, they became a family forged in fire. When the storm finally passed, the community gathered at a meeting, uneasy post-storm tension buzzing between familiar faces. Debates ignited over who deserved recognition for bravery, the rightful ticket to aid from their collective resources. Questions began to swirl about worth, history, and identity. Bill stood tall, his voice breaking through the crowd's discontent, advocating for the women who had not only fought for the land but had shown more heart than he could have imagined. In that moment, as he defended their place in this community, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was on the brink of unearthing deeper truths. Who would rise above the whispers of prejudice? Could the love of an unlikely family overcome it all? Beyond the shadows of judgment, secrets lay buried, waiting to come to light. The tension in the meeting hall lingered like smoke after a fire. Bill clutched the edge of the wooden table, his knuckles white, as murmurs cascaded through the crowd. He could feel the weight of their stares, all skepticism and doubt, like dark clouds again gathering on the horizon. Voices wavered between supporting him and ridiculing the very idea of change. Bill took a deep breath, his gaze shifting to Anna, Tara, and Lucy. They sat together, silent yet strong, like the calm at the eye of a storm. Each one radiated a silent plea, urging him to continue. These women, he began again, his voice steadying, have shown courage in ways most of you can't imagine. A murmured response rippled through the crowd, but he pressed on, fueled by desperation and fierce loyalty. They've come from difficult pasts. Anna survived an abusive relationship. Tara escaped a life void of hope. And Lucy, Bill's voice faltered, the weight of her secret pulling at his heart. Lucy has faced unimaginable loss, and yet here they are. Here with me, ready to stand and build a new life. A fiery pot of emotion began to boil as some townsfolk shifted uncomfortably. This was not the narrative they had anticipated. They were supposed to champion tradition, protect their values and home. As words flowed from him, Bill noticed small gestures, neighbors reaching for each other's arms, leaning conspiratorially, exhaling skepticism. Can't you see? Tara's voice, lively and fierce, surged through the room. She stood, nearly defeated the palpable anxiety in the air. It's not about where we came from, but where we're going. We came here to start fresh, to help Bill on this farm. We want to be part of this community. The room fell silent, caught off guard by her boldness. Bill offered her an appreciative nod, pride swelling in his chest. Then Lucy, usually quiet, lifted her eyes, her heavy gaze piercing through the silence. You think our past defines us? Her voice trembled, but it had strength, too. You don't know what we're capable of. You don't know the strength hidden behind each tear, behind each scar. There was something stirring in the air. Bill felt it, a shift. The whispers began to quiet, curiosity igniting interest. Minds opened a crack, just enough to let a breath of fresh air in, to challenge the suffocating norms that had long dictated their lives. Just then, an older farmer in the back stood up, eyebrows furrowed, face weathered from years of hard labor. Can we trust them? His voice was gruff but uncertain, echoing the sentiments of others. However good you say they are, how do we know they won't bring trouble? We show you, Bill replied firmly, standing taller now, full of conviction. Starting today, we'll work together. Give us a chance to prove ourselves. As murmurs began again, Tara shouted, we'll help with the harvest. I've been tending to crops since I was little. Let us show you what we can do. Eyes turned, doubt still lurking but tinged with curiosity. Bill's heart raced. Maybe, just maybe, a small ember of change had been sparked. The town meeting ended not with resolution, but with hushed conversations, contemplation weaved into the fabric of their routine. Bill knew they hadn't won over the community yet, but there was a glimmer of hope. He felt a sense of determination, a new drive to build not just a life for himself but for this makeshift family he had forged. Back at the farmhouse, as shadows lengthened and dusk began to settle, Bill gathered the women around the kitchen table. They laid out plans for their new beginnings on this land, optimistic laughter and ideas mixing with the aroma of simmering vegetable stew. The warmth of their presence fought against the chill of the outside world. But deep down, Bill sensed they were on the brink of something greater, a reckoning with the past that could change everything. Little did he know that one unexpected visitor would arrive the very next day, threatening to unravel all they'd begun to build. The next morning, as dawn's first light crept through the kitchen window, Bill set about preparing breakfast, the smell of pancakes wafting through the air. It was a new day, filled with possibilities. Tara and Anna had risen with the sun, their laughter bouncing off the walls like music. They were bustling about, eager to roll up their sleeves and begin their work on the farm, but as the three women gathered around the table, joy rapidly turned to worry. Bill noticed Anna's face darken, her eyes shadowed with apprehension. Is everything okay? He asked, concern lacing his voice. She sighed, glancing out the window towards the entrance of the farm. What if they never truly accept us? She whispered, vulnerability washing over her. What if we're just a passing curiosity? Lucy, who had been stirring her coffee, looked up, her expression resolute. We have to show them who we really are. Our pasts don't define us. We will change their minds. Tara chimed in, we've got this, Anna. We're stronger together. Bill felt a swell of pride for the women but couldn't shake the nagging worry that echoed Anna's fears. The ramifications of their endeavor hung in the air, heavy and uncertain. After breakfast, they piled into the old pickup truck, dust swirling behind them as they headed to the fields. Humming with the rhythm of the tires on the gravel road, they felt light-hearted, a shared anticipation for the day ahead. As they arrived, the bloated clouds above mirrored the town's lingering skepticism. A few farmers were already tending to their crops. Bill stepped out, his heart thumping in his chest. He gestured for the women to follow. "Today, we're going to work with the community," he announced, voice projecting over the rolling hills. Faces turned, some curious, many doubtful, but he was undeterred. For the next several hours, they were immersed in the labor, planting, weeding, and sharing laughter over shared burdens. Slowly, smiles cracked through the sternness of the locals. A few even stepped forward to offer advice or lend a hand. The glow of the sun cast warm rays over them, bolstering a sense of connection that hadn't existed before. Bill noticed the shift as eyes began to soften. Still, one man lingered on the edge, arms crossed, skepticism etched deep into his brow. He had been watching, and his stare felt heavy. As dusk crept closer, the atmosphere thickened with camaraderie and shared effort. Laughter echoed, buoying spirits higher, like a Gulf Stream pushing back the harrowing clouds. Just when tensions were about to fully break, a figure appeared down the road, a dark silhouette cutting through the clarity of the sunset. Bill squinted, recognizing the familiar shape. His heart sank as that figure grew closer. It was Tom, the town's unofficial leader, known for his fierce loyalty to tradition. He had a reputation for being unyielding, standing guard over long-standing beliefs. Well, what do we have here?" Tom called out, his voice carrying a harsh edge through the gathering. The laughter faded in an instant, eyes turned wary. "Just helping out," Bill replied, squaring his shoulders. "We're part of this community now." Tom's gaze remained sharp, dismissive. "Tell me, are these women really worth the trouble you're creating? You know the risk they bring." His words dripped with disdain, amplifying unsaid doubts that still gripped the townspeople. Bill's heart raced as he felt the pressure of the crowd mounting again. Anna, Tara, and Lucy, lowering their heads in unison, embodied trembling uncertainty. It was a stark reminder of how fragile their newly forged acceptance truly was. "Who are we to say who's worthy of a second chance?" Tara spoke up, her voice bold but laced with an underlying tremor. "We just want to prove we belong here." As murmurs erupted, anxiety enveloped the gathering. Tom's presence loomed large, an anchor keeping the tide of acceptance at bay. With here and now tension bearing down on them, Bill thought it was time for a change, a way to bring the community closer or risk losing everything. Would his voice be enough to shatter the dark rumblings of the past? "Tomorrow, I want to organize a town gathering here, to clear the air. To let everyone share their fears, their hopes," Bill declared, knowing full well he needed this risk a chance at acceptance or the unraveling of everything he was fighting for. The silence that followed was thunderous, the stakes suddenly higher than ever before. But perhaps, just perhaps, the chance to open their hearts would spark a fire strong enough to give them all a new beginning. Would his proposal ignite the flames of acceptance or merely fan the embers of division? The morning of the town gathering brought a stillness to the farm, a calm before what Bill feared could be a storm. The air was thick with tension, yet the sun shone brightly, hinting at hope. Anna, Tara, and Lucy seemed more determined than ever, dressed in their work clothes, hands on hips, ready to face whatever lay ahead. "Remember," Bill said softly, as they sipped their coffee, "this is about us showing them who we really are. Just be yourselves." He tried to breathe life into his own words, but a flicker of doubt still danced in the back of his mind. They walked to the barn where the gathering would take place, feeling the weight of eyes on them as townsfolk trickled in. Some faces were friendly, some indifferent, but a good number wore scowls like armor. Bill's heart raced as he faced the small crowd. They were all there, forces in opposition, and he was the bridge holding them together. "Thank you all for coming," he started, voice blending urgency with hope. "Today is not just about us. It's about all of us as a community. We're here to talk, to share, and to connect." He looked over at Anna, whose hands trembled slightly. Tara stood ready with a fierce look of resolve that he knew would carry them through. Lucy's calmness radiated, urging him on. We don't want to change your way of life, Bill continued. We just want to be part of it. Our pasts may be different, but we're committed to this farm and to you. We just want a chance to show you we can be good neighbors. Tom's voice cut through the air like a knife. Words are easy, Bill, he said, glaring from the back. What makes you think anyone here trusts what you say? What guarantees do we have that you won't leave us with trouble when things get tough? Echoes of agreement murmured through the crowd, feeding into the tension. Bill's heart sank, but he steeled himself. Let us hear from them, he said, gesturing to the women. They deserve the floor just as much as I do. Anna stepped forward, her hands clasped like she was praying for strength. I know I'm not perfect. I've made many mistakes in my life. But I want to help. I want to show you who I am now, not who I was. Unexpectedly, tears pricked her eyes, vulnerability spilling over like an open wound. Just like you, I wish for a place where people are not judged on their past, but on their actions, their dreams, and their hearts. We want to be part of this beautiful community. A heavy silence descended, yet a small voice piped up from the back, a young mother. I'd never thought of it that way, she said, her brow furrowed, but curiosity slowly breaking through the skepticism. Tara stepped up, emboldened. We've all faced our struggles. But aren't we here to support each other? Every one of us has a story, and we should allow ourselves to be defined by who we are today. Bill felt the shift in the air. The harshness of the crowd began to crumble as they absorbed the women's words that broke through the thick fog of distrust, and then, a whisper erupted into a murmur, then into a growing conversation among the townsfolk. Some stepped forward to voice their own stories, their own fears. A farmer in the back spoke of his own struggle with loss, while an older man shared his regret about past mistakes. Slowly, walls began to break down, little by little, as shared experiences bridged the divide, but just as it seemed they had shifted the tide, Tom's dark gaze remained fixed, a shadow hovering over the newfound warmth. Perhaps you can all share your stories, he said, sarcasm dripping from his tone, but tell me, who is going to pay for the risks you carry? Bill felt the knot of dread tightening again, wondering if this was truly just the beginning of acceptance or another step back. As they continued, the discussion became more heated, more personal, and more raw. It hung like pregnant air, teetering on the edge of breakthrough or breakdown. Would the hearts of the townsfolk truly open, or were they destined to retreat into their own fears yet again? Feeling the urgency of the moment, Bill took a deep breath. He was ready to defend their hope, but would he find the right words to quench the flames of doubt? The answer felt just out of reach. What would it take to ignite a flame that could shine bright enough to illuminate their shared path? The air hung thick with uncertainty as the gathering pressed on. Each voice shared the stories of their struggles and triumphs, but Bill could feel Tom lurking at the edge of every confession, a storm cloud darkening the atmosphere. He glanced at Anna, Tara, and Lucy, their faces a mix of hope and anxiety. Look, Bill, Tom said, his tone still dripping with skepticism, you honestly think just because a few sad stories were shared, we should trust you? Trust isn't given based on feelings. It's built over time. Bill's heart sank again. Could he shift this perception, or were they fighting an uphill battle? I understand, he replied, trying to keep his voice steady. Trust takes time. We're here to lay down a foundation for that trust. Before Tom could respond, Lucy raised her hand, a quiet strength radiating from her. I've known what it feels like to be judged by my past, she said, her voice unwavering. But I'm not that person anymore. None of us are. And aren't we all worthy of a second chance? A ripple of murmuring threaded through the crowd. Maybe she was saying something that resonated, something the townsfolk had yet to consider. Bill felt a spark ignite within him. Lucy's right, he said, encouraged by the shift. We can only move forward together. If we're going to heal, we must let go of the past. Tom scoffed, arms crossing tightly against his chest. Sounds great in theory, but how do we make sure this isn't just a great performance? The doubt in Tom's voice sent a shiver through the crowd, but it also birthed a growing courage within Bill. By proving our intentions with our actions. Let us help you with your harvest, or with repairs around your homes. We want to show you how committed we are. A few heads nodded, and murmurs of agreement circled like a gentle breeze. But what if you leave us hanging? Tom snapped back, his eyes sharp. What if you just take what you want and run? Anna stepped forward again, her voice soft but resolute. I can't promise we won't ever make mistakes. We're all human, we're all flawed. But I can promise you that no matter how tough it gets, we will stand with you. A quiet moment ensued, filled with a raw tension that seemed to stretch for miles. Bill could see doubt in Tom's eyes, but also something else, the glimmer of contemplation. Then a voice called out from the back. What if they're telling the truth? Some of us are just as lost. It was the young mother again, her face brightening with a vulnerable hope. What if we let them in? Maybe this could be good for us all. For every hesitant word shared, there were nods of agreement, small sparks of acceptance flickering alive. Conversations had turned from heated debates to cautious inquiries. Bill could almost hear a collective breath being drawn between them. But Tom's gaze remained sharp, observing, calculating. Words can be easy, but the real test comes when the rain starts falling. When life gets messy. Then we'll see who stands tall and who runs. His challenge hung in the air, heavy like the oppressive humidity of the day. Bill could feel the stakes rising, and while acceptance was slowly being embraced, the threat of rejection loomed just beyond reach. They needed something to stake their claim. Something tangible. A gesture that would bridge their world, something to break through Tom's cold skepticism once and for all. But what could that be? What action could encapsulate the commitment they felt so deeply on this day? As the sun began to dip behind the hills, casting long shadows across the barn, Bill's heart raced at the thought of seizing the moment. They were on the threshold of something so much greater. Yet, would it be enough to silence Tom and change the hearts of the town? What next steps would lead them toward real understanding, real partnership? Bill had an idea brewing, one that could shift everything, but could he muster the courage to voice it? Bill took a deep breath, the weight of the moment pressing down on him. He needed to speak, to share the thought dancing in his mind, vibrant and full of promise. With courage building, he stepped forward, catching the attention of the crowd. The murmurs faded, and all eyes turned to him. What if, he began, feeling the warmth of hope seep into his voice, what if we held a communal day of service? Something where we all come together for the benefit of the community? He glanced at Tom, searching for any sign that his idea could break through the wall of skepticism. We could fix the fences, help with the harvest, clean up around the church. It would be a day not just to work, but to connect. A hush fell over the crowd, the kind that swells with expectation. Tara looked confident, her hands gripping the edge of a nearby table, nodding slightly. Yes. We can bring food, and everyone in town can join. It'll be a chance to share stories while we work. We could even invite everyone to the barn for dinner after. Anna added, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. It's about community, everyone contributing. It's about unity. Tom's brows furrowed. And what do you get from this? A quick way to win us over? Bill hesitated. The question struck a nerve, but he pressed on. It's not about winning anyone over. It's about coming together in a way that shows we're serious about being a part of this community. If we want trust, we must earn it, right? A flicker of interest passed through the crowd, an almost imperceptible shift. Lucy caught Bill's gaze, her face a canvas of encouraging hope. I think it's a beautiful idea, she said, her voice steady. Working side by side can heal many wounds. As hesitant whispers turned into murmurs of excitement, Bill felt the pulse of possibility. People were asking each other questions, exchanging suggestions. Would they set a date? What tools did they need? Slowly the crowd began to transform, morphing from a collection of skeptical faces to a community pulsating with energy and warmth. But amid the budding enthusiasm, Tom's skepticism lingered. "So let us say this happens," he said, arms still crossed. "How do we know you'll actually show when it gets hard?" "Because we will," Bill said, the pleading tone of his heart echoing in his words. "We want to be here for you, in every storm and sunny day. We're committed to showing up. Actions, not just words." Finally, something shifted in Tom's steel-like expression. Bill could see it the slightest crack in the armor. It was as if the clouds momentarily parted, just enough for a sliver of light to break through. "Fine," Tom replied, his voice gruff but uncertain. "But talk is cheap. Prove it." "Then let us plan together," Anna chimed in, her voice a soothing balm. "Let us make it a day that shines bright for all of us." The atmosphere began to shift dramatically. Conversations erupted about possible dates, tasks, and the food they would share. The light of hope grew, wrapping around them like an embrace. As they began to exchange ideas, Bill felt a stirring sense of victory welling in him. But there was still that lingering question: would they find strength when life got messy as Tom warned? He turned to find Tom's gaze fixed on him, still guarded but now tinged with curiosity. Bill knew this was just the beginning. They weren't just facing the challenge of convincing Tom, they were about to dive deep into the real labor of forming genuine connections. Could they really change hearts and minds? Bill stepped forward into the brightness of the gathering, heart racing with a fusion of hope and anxiety. But the path ahead was long and fraught with challenges. Just when they were starting to build momentum, a loud crash echoed from outside, shattering the profound moment. All heads turned, and Bill's breath caught in his throat. What had just happened? The sound of the crash reverberated through the air, slicing the moment into fragments. The excited chatter evaporated, replaced by a collective hush of surprise. People shifted, their faces a mix of concern and curiosity. "Was that the barn?" Tara asked, her voice shaky as she instinctively moved closer to the group. Bill's heart raced. The barn was an old structure, always on the verge of collapse. It had withstood storms, harsh winters, and a few too many bouts of neglect, but now it seemed it might finally surrender to time. "I'll go check," Bill volunteered quickly, hoping to shake off the rising dread. He guided himself toward the heavy barn doors, the creak resonating ominously in the sudden silence. As he pushed the door open, dust motes danced in the light, casting a surreal glow. The scene before him was startling. A stack of firewood had toppled over, scattering logs like fallen soldiers across the ground. But it wasn't the mess that seized him, it was the figure kneeling on the floor, cradling his arm, a grimace etched across his face. "Tom!" Bill exclaimed, rushing to his side. "Just tripped," Tom grunted, trying to brush it off, but the pain flickered in his eyes. "Guess I'm not as spry as I used to be." His hard exterior had fractured slightly, revealing vulnerability. With a sharp intake of breath, Bill kneeled beside him, realizing that surrounding them were remnants of their earlier discussion: empty water bottles, hastily left hay bales, and loose tools scattered about. "Can you move it?" Bill asked, gripping Tom's shoulder for support. Tom grumbled, shifting awkwardly but managed to flex his elbow. "It's nothing I can't handle, but maybe I do need a bit of help." Bill nodded, feeling a sudden surge of camaraderie. "Let us get you up. I need your help." As they both stood, Tom's face softened. "Funny, huh? Here I am, the tough guy, and I get taken out by a pile of wood." Bill chuckled, relieved to see a glimmer of humor. "We all have our moments. Just proves we need to lean on each other." When they stepped back outside, the crowd looked on with a mixture of concern and encouragement. Lucy stepped forward, ready to assist. "What happened?" "Nothing serious, just a stumble," Tom said, a little more upbeat. "But it could have been worse. If I'd been alone." He let the thought hang, an acknowledgement that community was about more than just labor, it was about looking out for one another. Bill felt their earlier excitement return, rekindled by the shared moment. This is what I mean. We can support one another on and off the field. Tom regarded him quietly, doubt still mingling with intrigue. Maybe this day of service isn't just about the work. Maybe it's about learning we can count on each other. A ripple of agreement washed through the crowd, emboldened by Tom's reluctant admission. People started stepping forward, offering to help Tom, lending their hands and hearts as they gathered around him. With hope bubbling inside him, Bill realized they were already beginning to change. This moment could be the spark for something bigger. Let us make sure we're here for one another, even when it gets messy, he urged, the truth lacing his words. The energy shifted again this time. The mission was personal, it was about binding their stories together. Just then, Anna's voice broke through the growing buzz. When are we going to set that date? Right now. Tara exclaimed, and suddenly, they were all talking at once, speaking over each other, planning and dreaming. But amidst the excitement, Bill's heart was heavy with a reminder the challenge of taking this newfound trust and building it into something real. Could they hold on to this feeling, even when times got tough? As he listened to ideas bounce around, he looked at Tom, who seemed to be softening, finally beginning to embrace them as a part of this community. Then, out of the corner of his eye, Bill noticed something flickering near the barn. "What is going on over there?" he asked, drawing attention to a small fire that had started among the fallen logs. The murmurs shifted into urgent alarm. They hadn't he noticed until now. With adrenaline kicking in, Bill turned away from the hopeful chatter and faces lined with expectation. Would they come together to extinguish yet another challenge, or would this fire ignite old fears? Panic rippled through the gathered crowd like a wave. A few people gasped, pointing toward the flickering flames that danced dangerously close to the barn's dry wooden walls. Bill's heart thudded in his chest as he scanned the faces around him. Fear etched deep lines on some, others were already springing into action. "Grab the buckets!" shouted Lucy, her voice slicing through the chaos. Her quick thinking sparked movement, as people broke from their huddles, rushing in various directions to find anything that could hold water. "Tom, can you walk?" Bill asked, wanting to help but knowing they needed all hands on deck. Tom nodded but winced as he shifted his weight. "Just keep an eye on that fire." "I'm not letting you babysit me," he muttered, determination laced in his words. The urgency of the moment fueled Bill's resolve. He quickly assessed the scene. "We need 2 people by the well." "It's the closest water source," he shouted, aiming to rally the group. Tara and Anna sprang forward, their eyes wide, but their focus unwavering. As they dashed toward the well, Bill pried some logs apart, creating a small barrier with his body to shield the group from the flames. The fire flickered and crackled, hungry for more wood, licking at the air. The logs trapped in its grip threatened to ignite more. "Stay clear, everyone," he called out, feeling the heat on his face. The fire leapt, a menacing reminder of how quickly things could spiral out of control. One by one, chairs toppled over as people rushed to find anything to combat the flames. The atmosphere shifted. The earlier excitement of planning faded into a collective focus on survival. Bill caught sight of Tara and Anna, buckets in hand, their faces set with determination. "Here!" Tara shouted as they filled their buckets at the well, their movements synchronized by urgency. She hurled the water toward the fire, the liquid crashing against the flames, forcing them back temporarily. "Another!" Bill yelled, spurred by the initial success. Their teamwork was evident. As more water splashed down, the tension broke slightly. The crowd rallied, bringing bucket after bucket. Each splash seemed to pull them closer as a community. "Come on! We're stronger together!" Tom encouraged, his voice rising above the clamor, and for a brief moment, the shared struggle pushed aside their differences. An unspoken bond began to form in the heat of the moment. Bill noticed people who rarely spoke sharing smiles and encouragement between desperate breaths. With one final push, they splashed the last bucket of water over the flames. Silence washed over them as the fire sputtered out, leaving behind only smoke and charred wood. Bill stared at the remains, a sense of disbelief mixed with relief flooding over him. "We did it. We took care of it together," Bill exclaimed, feeling the adrenaline course through him. Heartbeats began to slow, the reality of their achievement settling in, but then, Bill looked at Tom and saw the weight of uncertainty return. He approached him, unsure of how to address the lingering shadows of doubt. "You think we can keep this spirit alive?" Tom's eyes flickered toward the smoldering embers, then back at the group now animated again, sharing nervous laughter and relieved smiles. "Maybe, if we remember days like this when things get tough." Bill shared a nod. It would take more than just this one moment, but their victory tonight felt monumental. The group began to scatter and share stories of what they had overcome. But as laughter returned, Bill's gaze caught something moving among the shadows, something that demanded his attention. Just as he stepped forward, Tara called, "Hey! What about the barn? We still need to fix it." Bill whipped around, his excitement obliterated by the looming task ahead. Would their recent unity hold against the next obstacle? And who would step forward next to repair not just the barn but their trust in each other? Bill took a deep breath, scanning the now quiet scene where fire had once threatened everything. The barn stood there, a charred skeleton against the night sky, a daunting reminder of just how quickly life could change. "We can't just leave it like this," he said, his voice barely above a whisper and heavy with dread. Lucy, who had tirelessly coordinated the bucket brigade, stepped beside him. "You're right," she said, glancing at the scattered debris. "It needs to be repaired, but we've got to plan first." "Can we even do this?" Tom interjected, grimacing as he leaned on the fence. "I mean, we're all worn out from the fire. And look at the state of this thing, it needs serious work." The unease in Tom's voice echoed the concerns lurking in Bill's mind. He felt the weight of the day pressing down on him. It was still fresh, their teamwork in extinguishing the flames, the adrenaline rush of the moment. But now those same feelings felt thin, as the reality of the task ahead loomed even larger than the fire. "How about we organize a barn repair day?" Tara suggested, always the optimist. "We can gather materials and get everyone involved. We can all pitch in." "That could work," Bill replied, intrigued by the idea. "But we need to set a date and get commitments. Otherwise, we might end up with a half-done project." "Agreed," Lucy said, her eyes darting to the horizon, the last remnants of daylight disappearing. "Let's talk to everyone tonight. We can knock doors tomorrow and come up with a plan." A rush of hope lifted Bill's spirits. Would that sense of unity help them tackle this? He could envision it working together again, this time to rebuild, to strengthen what had been damaged. As they began discussing logistics, whispers of renewed determination spread through the crowd. Meanwhile, a group of children wandered close, their eyes wide and curious as they peered at the remnants of the fire and the barn. Bill smiled gently, kneeling to their level. "How about we make this place even better than before? We'll turn it into a real community hub. You'll be able to help out, too." Their faces lit up with excitement, and he felt a ripple of warmth spread through him. It was a reminder that even amidst destruction, the spirit of growth was blossoming. Around them, the adults nodded in agreement. "We'll make it a day for everyone," one of the older farmers said. "A big potluck, maybe. That'll draw the neighbors in." Laughter erupted, filling the air with a glow of positivity that deflected the darkness of earlier threats. But as plans took shape, Bill's mind flickered back to the fire. What if something else happened? What if they weren't prepared for the next challenge? He quashed the worries fighting to rise. "All right, then," Bill called, energized by the shared purpose. "Let's make a commitment tonight. Get it in people's hearts that we're in this together. Tomorrow, we'll start canvassing. Together we can make this barn something special." As they broke into smaller groups, Bill felt his apprehension ebb. He turned to Tom, who was joining a circle of neighbors. Maybe this time, the fear wouldn't overshadow everything. Maybe they could carry that fire-suppressing spirit into the rebuilding, but as the plans unfolded, Bill noticed Lucy stepping away from the crowd, her usual spark missing. He caught her eye, but she shifted her gaze, the weight of something unspoken hanging in the air. "Lucy, wait," he called, stepping toward her. Why did it feel like she was holding back? She hesitated and then took a deep breath. "Bill, before she could finish, a loud crash echoed from the barn, rattling the group. They turned, startled, as a figure emerged from the shadows, bringing with them a surge of uncertainty. What was behind this new disturbance? Bill's heart raced. The evening had shifted again, and with it, new questions dawned. Would their work still be enough to keep the darkness at bay? The figure stepped into the light, and Bill's heart dropped. It was Sam, an old acquaintance from the neighboring farm, known for his fiery temperament and reluctance to embrace change. Whispers surged through the crowd, doubt weaving tighter as Sam glared at the gathered townsfolk. "What is going on here?" he barked, uncertainty layered under his anger. Bill met his eyes. "We're coming together to fix the barn," he said, steady. "We want to support each other in this community." The crowd shifted uneasily, but Bill held his ground, placing himself between Sam and the women, protective instincts kicking in like a shield. "Community?" Sam scoffed, crossing his arms. "What do you know about community? They're just a bunch of outsiders, playing house." The tension hung thick like fog, but Bill felt something stirring in the depths of him, a drive to extinguish the fire of hate sparked by Sam's words. "Enough, Sam!" yelled Tom, stepping from the circle. An unexpected silence fell, caught between his usual skepticism and the undeniable need for unity. "Maybe it's time to let go of the fear and embrace the unknown. We've been standing still for too long." Bill could see the surprise ripple through the crowd. Tom was breaking time-worn traditions, opening a door too long shut. Could this be the moment of reckoning Bill had hoped for? "Look at what we just did together," Tom continued, motioning toward the charred remnants of the fire. "We fought against the odds. As a community. We took a risk and put out that fire, and now we can rebuild something better than before." A wave of murmur built momentum among the onlookers, softening the harshness in Sam's expression. Bill seized the moment, stepping closer to the townsfolk. "We're all here because we care about this land, our families, our futures. Change doesn't always feel good, but together we can be a part of something special." His voice surged with passion, and the warmth of his words began to settle over the crowd. Lucy, who had been quiet, found her voice like an anchor. "Sam, you don't know us," she said, stepping forward. "We all have struggles just like you. We want to build from the ashes, not let them consume us." Her eyes searched the crowd, igniting curiosity and empathy. Sam hesitated, the fight in him faltering. Just then, a small child from the crowd stepped forward, tugging at his sleeve, eyes wide with innocence. "I want to help fix the barn," she declared, enthusiasm pressing against the boundaries of fear. Sam looked down, the corners of his mouth twitching almost imperceptibly. Bill's heart lifted as a chorus of voices began to join in, encouragement rolling like a gentle wave. "We can help you, Sam," one voice called. "We're better together." A ripple spread with renewed energy, breaking down stubborn walls that had held tight for far too long. After a moment that felt like an eternity, Sam finally spoke, his voice softer now. "I don't know. Change is hard." A chorus of agreement followed, a shared understanding filling the air. "Let us face these challenges together. It won't be easy, but we can make it," Bill urged, extending a hand toward Sam. This was the defining moment, the choice to be a part of something greater, to lean into the collective heart of their community. Slowly, Sam took a step forward, hesitantly returning Bill's gaze. "All right, let us give it a shot," he said. The crowd erupted with tentative cheers, laughter mixing with disbelief. As darkness settled in, the future glimmered with possibility. They turned to the barn, determination rooting deep within them. Anna, Tara, and Lucy exchanged glances of disbelief and joy, finally sensing acceptance blooming in the hearts of the townsfolk. Let us schedule that day of service, and we'll start restoring this barn, Bill declared, buoyed by their energy, his spirit ignited with hope. There was a lingering twinkle in Tom's eye, and he nodded, signaling a commitment to the future he once doubted, and then, just as the first stars twinkled in the velvety sky, laughter erupted, echoing across the farm, a sound rich with promise, relationships blossoming, hands ready to work side by side. In that moment, Bill Thompson, once burdened by isolation, felt the air shift. Love and trust coursed through them, watering the roots of friendship that had only just begun. Together, they were more than a community, they had become a family forged in fire, ready to face whatever storms lay ahead. This was only the beginning. They had much to create together. Now, if you've loved the journey of Bill and the remarkable women finding their way through hardships, this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us spread these heartwarming tales to others who need a spark of hope. Comment your reactions and feelings about this inspiring transformation in the story. We want to hear your thoughts. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second. Immerse them in the hope and change found in these powerful connections.